Yeah, I'm happy to get us started. It looks like some folks are also ready.
Yeah,
So
no, everyone's excited.
yeah, so I'll go ahead and share my screen,
Yes.
do some introductions first, and then share that as well. And so you'll have a visual to see. My name is Vanessa Guerrero. I serve as the Director of Residence Life here at Reed. And I'll be facilitating the presentation as well as taking you all through our housing portal, specifically through the incoming year student contract and application. So that way you can see page by page what you should be viewing when you're submitting your housing application for next year. Talk through some dates, talk through some of the staff that we have here on campus to support your students, or you if you are the student who's joining us. I see a lot of parents, so I want to be mindful of that as well. And then talking through programming, ways in which Residence Life supports students, and so forth. And so I will let my counterpart Glenn introduce himself, and then we'll kick it off.
Hi, everyone. My name is Glen Robbins. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the Assistant Director of Residence Life here at Reed College.
Great. All right. Can I just get a thumbs up that folks can see my screen? Perfect. I appreciate when people participate. That's my favorite. So I'll go ahead and kick us off. So living on campus, again, we're talking about housing, board plans, all the things that have to do with living on campus. As a first and second year student, there is a residency requirement, which we will also talk about. But for your first year, you should expect to live on campus and also for your second. Okay. Introductions, we've already done those. So you know who we are. We're just two of the many staff that we have working in residence life. You'll find us in 28 West, which is a building that we share with community safety. So if you're ever coming to get your ID, we are just across the hallway from them and on the far side of campus. So you can come find us if you have questions or email us. That is an option as well. We'll talk about residence life staff. We'll talk about the portal, housing procedures, specifically some policy pieces as well. That way you can also see what is in our contract and what are the things that we ask of you and what are those kind of expectations as well. We'll talk about the residency requirement. We will go through the housing contract specifically. Again, you'll be able to see that. Programming, student leaders, and then some time for Q&A at the end. We'll use the chat for questions. Feel free to plug those in. I can't currently see the chat, so I will answer them once the presentation is done.
Sorry to interrupt, Vanessa. We do also have a Q&A feature in Zoom, so if you want to use that as well, that is another thing you could do. But yes, chat is wonderful as well.
Yeah, and so both of those options are available, but we'll go ahead and dive right in. So talking about our pro staff, which is professional staff, we do have student staff, but I'll start with our pro staff. So our central office staff, again, located in 28 West, which is a building that we share with community safety. Our central office staff consist of myself, our assistant director, Glenn, and our operations coordinator, which is Christina. And so typically when you're sending us an email in the inbox, these are the three people who are mostly responding to your responses. It's not just auto-generated or AI based. We are individuals who are sitting there reading your emails and trying to help and provide support to the questions that you may have, update your board plans if you selected the wrong one in your application, those sorts, or if you're trying to update your preferences, we also are able to do that. We help with the housing process, primarily all of the larger operations and trying to ensure that housing is running smoothly for residents. And we serve as one of the many points of contacts for students and families navigating housing. Typically, parents will reach out to the inbox and we'll share information that we are able to share. There are some guidelines on things that we can't. And so if we are saying, unfortunately, we can't share that information, your student has to reach out. We are not doing it because we don't want to give you information. It is just protected information that we have to be very mindful of. And so if you get that response, we just need your student to participate in the process as well. And then the other staff that we have are area coordinators or ACs. So in addition to supervising the house advisors, area coordinators offers direct student support. And so typically if a student is referred to the care team, potentially someone who's experiencing barriers either to their success in the academics or in engaging in community, the AC is one of those initial people to reach out and say, let's get connected. I'd love to help find ways to remove these barriers and support you in engaging not only socially, but academically. And so do a lot of that support. They also do crisis management by being on call. So they do serve in a 24-hour 7 rotation that we have. So there is always someone on our staff who is available after hours to provide support to students who have questions or are in crisis or are just experiencing some level of emergency. And they work really closely with community safety, who also operate on a 24/7 rotation as well. They do manage cases for students who are assigned in their areas, provide support to maintain community expectations. So if you have somebody in your hall, or maybe there's multiple people who just aren't picking their laundry up right after it's done and they're leaving it for 2, 3 days, your AC is a great point of contact. They're happy to send out emails and remind community members, hey, let's be really mindful and make sure that laundry is being picked up within a timely manner, right? Things happen, people forget. And so they serve as a great person who can reach out and give those reminders. Or it also, if there's quiet hour concerns, right? If you're like, I like to go to sleep at 8 o'clock and the person next to me is playing drums, super loud, and I can't get to sleep, they're also willing to help facilitate conversations as well. So that way everyone is being, again, very mindful of who is residing next to them and creating a space where folks can sleep, but also focus on academics and engage as well. Um, and again, they're also a resource for residents who are seeking out ways to navigate their new community. Reed is going to be very different, but in the best way possible. And so part of that is adjusting to a new community, which can be really hard. And so they are a great resource. They know our on-campus resources like the back of their hand. And so if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're like, I'm just not really sure, or if your student is saying, things are kind of hard and I'm not sure what to do, ACs are a great point of contact. They will send introduction emails at the beginning of the year as well. And so if you're ever unsure of who is my AC, they do send out welcome emails. And so you will get that as well. And they will send out just kind of cyclical messages as well of like, hey, 4-week comments are coming up, 8-week grades, end of the year. And so you'll get some more emails. And so should be someone frequently in your inbox. That way you have an easy point of contact to them. For our student staff, we have house advisors, HAs. They're some of the first people that you'll meet at Reed. They are here. They come to campus about 2 weeks early. They do training and prepare for residents to arrive. That way, when you all get here, or when your students get here, they're able and ready to start welcoming them to the community. They are full-time students as well, sophomores and upper division student leaders who help foster a safe, healthy, and inclusive campus. And so they are students who also have gone through adjusting to a new community. They're committed to programming and creating ways to engage that feel meaningful. And so as you're thinking about what does it look like for you to engage or for your student to engage in community, this is a great resource, someone who can speak from the experience of being a Reed student. And they're not far removed, right? They are still attending Reed at the time that they are the HA. And so if you have questions about what is it like to go through your first week of 4-week assessments or 8-week grades, really great points of contact to say like, this is kind of what you should expect. These are the comments that you might receive from your faculty, or, hey, I've been through that process. I'm happy to help you navigate that or direct you to resources that can. They share information and opportunities from residence life with their residents. And so if there are programs that are available, or if there are opportunities to engage with staff, they'll share that out. Hold regular events and programs to promote engagement and belonging. They will address violations of community expectations. Again, thinking of like quiet hours, or like if kitchens aren't being cleaned, that is one that we see pretty often. Folks will be like, I'll come back to it later. And some folks are like, I would just prefer that it's done now versus it staying and, potentially creating more mess. And so they will address that as well. Or if, again, common spaces are not being upkept, they will also address that as well and say like, hey, don't forget about these things. Just a reminder, again, making sure that people are respectful, not only of the individuals around them, but of the spaces that are shared. And so one of the many ways that they do that. And then facilitate community meetings to discuss important information. At the beginning of the year, your HA will invite you to your first opening community meeting where they talk about all the things to expect within your first year in the residence halls. What does that look like? What does programming look like? They introduce themselves, give you some context about who they are, things that they do, maybe their major, some fun facts, all of those great like little icebreakers that folks do when you're in large groups with new people. And then they serve in an on-call rotation during the semester by completing rounds in their areas. And so you'll be able to see them as well. They do just routine evening walks through their buildings or through a certain set of buildings as well. Opportunity for you to engage with them, ask them questions. If there's something that you notice about either a common space or a kitchen or the facility in itself, they're easily able to submit any facilities requests. And then again, just another opportunity to visibly see additional resources who are available to you. And so they serve in teams. It's not the same person every night. You'll get to see more faces of individuals who have access to resources to provide you with support. Okay, I'm going to jump into the housing portal. And so give me a moment while I switch over. All right, can I get another thumbs up that folks can see my screen? Perfect. I love that. And so you will see some of our admin notes because my user is an admin, so they pop up no matter what I do. But I'll go ahead and sign in. So typically when a student is logging into the housing portal, this is the first page that you will see. So you'll click on academic year housing. It'll take you to this beautiful little box here that says academic year housing. It tells you when housing starts and when it closes. So for the parents who like to plan ahead and may not get responses from their students about specific dates, housing for next year closes on the 19th of May. So as you're planning flights or trying to travel just in general, those are something to consider. Some students may be done earlier depending on what their finals look like, but that is the last day that students can remain in on-campus housing, and we close at noon. It's also the day after graduation. So if you have friends that are graduating, also something to consider. And so it'll tell you your status. So as you can see here, this is your application. Tells you when you started the application. I do not have a signed contract yet. And then it tells you what the overall status is. So just application started. Once you complete it, it'll say application complete. You have a signed contract, all of the details. So jump. Okay, asking for another thumbs up just to make sure. Okay. Great. So student welcome. This will say like, hello, it has your name in there, it gives you all the details, tells you about our timeline. So we opened the application on the 15th. So for those of you who were able to get your deposits in early, you had earlier access. It closes the 1st at 11:59 p.m. The beautiful thing about being a first-year student who has to live on campus, if you don't submit your application, we will still provide you with a placement for next year. So if there's any panic around that, we will still find a spot for you. We will ask you to complete the application, but we will assign you a space. That way you're not left without an option to come to when you move in August. And then your assignments, specifically where you will be placed, will come out in late June. So that last full week of June is when we'll be sending those out on the portal. So just make sure you're checking in and looking at that as well. So that way you can see specifically where you've been placed, if you have a potential roommate, and kind of what that looks like, which building you're in as well. So generally, residency requirement is on here, our application and assignments. We do allocate first years. You don't select your spaces, we assign them to you. And then we also ask like, what are your preferences? We do recommend taking your time through your answers that we're asking about your roommate profiles. And so as you're considering that, which we'll get to here in a moment, just be very honest about those. That way we can pair you with the best possible roommate as we are looking at those matches. And so looking at our locations and eligibility. So if any of you have been on the website, we have a couple options, Trillium, NATO, Sullivan, and a few spots in Bidwell, which is our students of color community. And so that is in the application, you'll be able to apply for that specifically if you are interested in residing in that community. The students of color community is freshman through senior. And so you'll be living in in a larger group of students, not just freshmen, but still very close to freshman communities. That way, if you still want to engage with just first years, you can. So we'll go through this. I do recommend, I'm gonna go a little bit faster because I've seen these things, but as you are going through it, please read it. It has a lot of good information that will help provide some answers to questions that you may have. We also include some information for transfers. So if there are students in this group who are incoming transfers, also relevant information for you as well. Some more information about programming focuses for first-year communities, and then some programming focuses for returning students. Okay. Go to the bottom, save and continue. Yes, I read all the information. I know what I'm getting myself into. Great. So student information, it will ask you specifically just to double check this. And so if you're wanting to make any changes, please visit Iris, which is linked here as well. So if for some reason you're like, oh, I use a different name, or I've changed my last name, or my pronouns aren't up to date, please visit Iris. It will automatically update on our system once you have gone through Iris and updated it through there as well. Also includes address, phone number, state, providence, all of those pieces. That way, if we ever need to send something to your home, like let's say you leave some stuff behind and we want to ship it to you, it's easy for us to pull that address versus then having to reach out and hopefully waiting for a response. Okay, that information looks great. Move on to the next piece. We do ask if anyone has disability-related accommodations or is needing housing accommodations for that purpose. This can include students with severe pet allergies, a physical accessibility, also sleep medical sleep concerns as well. And so making sure that you're connecting with DAR specifically. They are linked. We do ask, we will send a follow-up email. So depending on what you say, yes, no, those are the two options that we have here. You do have to say yes or no. It doesn't lock you in. So if you change your mind in the middle of July, you can still work with DAR, but we do have a priority deadline. So that is June 1st. I would say if you are seeking out accommodations, start that process sooner rather than later, and they'll let you know kind of what documentation is needed, and work through that process with you to make sure that your housing accommodations are set so that when we do allocation, we can find a space that best meets your needs, versus after the fact trying to find a spot after we've already placed folks. So we'll say yes and add that in there. Like I said, you'll get an email notification that says you've indicated that you are interested in housing accommodations. Here's the information for DAR. Please reach out to them. And so that will come to your read emails. And then this is the piece I was talking about, lifestyle questions. Again, please be very honest about how you answer these questions. We understand that things change from the time when you're living either at home or with parents or guardians to the time that you are living on your own on a college campus. So thinking about that as well, right? You may have a different routine and your routine changes when you come to college. And so as you're thinking of that, also consider that as you're answering these questions. Do you smoke? How would you feel if your roommate was a smoker? We don't allow smoking within the residence, but students can smoke outside of campus. And sometimes folks don't like the smell of either cigarettes or other smoke as well. And so being mindful about that. How would you describe your cleanliness habits? So I'm going to say no, happy. So there's a couple options. How is your cleanliness? Messy, medium, immaculate. Sometimes having parents in the home with you makes it really easy to keep either a cleaner or immaculate space. And so also thinking of that as well, what is it going to be like when you're on your own, have your own routine and are responsible for yourself. And so pick medium, depends on if you're having a rough week or not. Room atmosphere, quiet and peaceful, right? You're like, I like it quiet. I like there to be less distractions. I really want to unwind. Academics are very rigorous here. And so some people are like, I really just want a space where I can just completely relax. Folks who are like, I don't mind having a couple guests over every now and then. And then people who are like, I really want to engage and I want people in my space all the time. And so again, thinking about that as well, right? And so lively and social, we'll put that for myself. I'd like my roommate and I too. And so we ask like, what kind of relationship are you hoping for with your roommate? Peacefully coexist. You're like, we can live in the same space. Don't really want to know specifics about them. They can do their thing. I'll do my own. I want to hang out with them every once in a while. Like, okay, cool. I'll be cool with them. We can go get some, coffee down the street or hang out outside on campus or become friends, right? Most students who are looking for roommates are looking for some sort of relationship, and it's helpful for us to know what is it that you are specifically asking for. That way we can pair you with someone who is also looking for a very similar relationship. Because it can be hard when someone's like, I want to be friends, and the other person's like, I just want to peacefully exist. Because then it just feels not as great. How often do you plan on having guests or friends over? We asked that as well. Not at all. Just want my space to be a space to recharge. Rarely, maybe once or twice a semester, occasionally, a handful of times. Often, I really enjoy sharing my space with others all the time. And again, this is a one to think about, like, what is the kind of space that you're hoping to create for yourself and for your roommate if you have one. And so as someone who really liked having people over, I liked having people over all the time. I had roommates who didn't. And so I had to have those conversations with them of like, I'm sorry, I understand. I will work on it myself. And then are you a morning person, a night owl, or somewhere in the middle? Morning person, early bird catches the worm, depends on the day. I'm pretty flexible either way. And then night owl, this is not me, but 8 p.m. to 3 a.m. is when some folks thrive. So we also put that in there as well. So just let us know kind of where it is that you're hanging out in terms of sleep time and not. Do you consider yourself a heavy or a light sleeper? I am a light sleeper, but obviously pick your whatever one works for you. In the middle, heavy. We have some students who are like, the fire alarm could be going off and I'm out. I'm like, that's a concern for me as someone who is worried about safety, but glad that you can sleep through lots of extra noise that's happening. And there's some people who are like, if I hear even like the wind outside, I will wake up. And so thinking about those as well. And then How do you view your room? Just a place to sleep. I would spend most of my time elsewhere on campus. Some folks really find spaces on campus that they're like, I want to spend all my time here outside of when I'm sleeping. Some folks like Paradox, which is a coffee shop here on campus. It's student run. We have Canyon Cafe, which is ran by Commons. There's a couple common spaces just in general. So we have Winch, we have Elliott, Volum. Sometimes folks end up staying in the labs, right? Like depending on what your major is or the degree that you're seeking, you may spend more time in the building specific to that degree, right? You just naturally are shifted into that, given the access to just equipment and your educators and all of that stuff. And so a place to sleep, place to socialize, a place to do everything. And then are you open to living with a roommate who holds a different gender identity than you? So adding that, that is not information that we share out directly. So please answer that honestly. You know, there's no judgment on our end. We just want to make sure that we're placing you with somebody who you're comfortable with. And then there is an option for you to create your own little bio. So if you're watching specific movies, have hobbies, if you like specific shows, or you're really interested in a certain kind of thing, that's helpful to add here. Some folks will say like, oh, I'm currently learning how to play the guitar. Like, I really like going out to eat ramen. Boba and Netflix is my thing. That is helpful so that if anyone is looking for a roommate and they're like, oh, I have those same interests, then they can start that conversation with you and you'll be able to see that as well. Make sure this little checkbox right here is checked because if not, then people won't be able to find you, right? So you may be talking to somebody on the Discord and say, hey, I really want to room with you. You sound really cool. I think we'd get along. If the box is not checked, they won't be able to find you. And that's when you would need to reach out to us that we can check that box for you on the back end. That way you can form your roommate groups. Okay. If you don't want to be found by people for roommates, you can uncheck it. That doesn't increase the likelihood of getting a single, just FYI. If you're like, I'm going to check everything so that I don't get a roommate, there is always the potential that you might. Okay. So once you get through that, you write your little bio. I'm super cool. I'm super great. I like all these things. You save and continue. And move on to the next piece. Again, talk about roommates. Roommates is not required, but again, we don't have enough singles to give every student a single for their first year, or just in general, and so we just make sure that that's communicated. So if you don't select one, there is still the potential that you might get a roommate. It is helpful for us if you do make the effort to find someone to be a roommate. That way, if we pair them with you, it's somebody who you would feel comfortable living with. The deadline for confirming roommates is June 1st. So when you find a roommate, on here, you'll see that I haven't selected anybody, but you can search by roommates, profiles, details. So again, if there's someone specifically in the Discord that you've been chatting with, you can find their name, you can look up profiles, you can find suggested roommates. So it'll say, here's some people that we recommend based on the things that you've shared. And it typically goes off of your lifestyle questions. So again, that roommate profile. Once you do it, it'll give you the option to send them a message. All of the messages go through the housing portal. So it's not coming directly from a Residence Life staff member, it's coming from the portal. And so when you log in at the very top, you'll have this little note here, and that's where you'll click and it'll show you your messages as well. So if there's any friend requests or roommate requests, that's where it's going to be.
Vanessa, we actually have a question in the chat that's kind of related. Janelle is wondering, what is a roommate group?
So roommate group is 1 to 2 people. One person starts the roommate group, selects the other person and invites them to join. Roommate number 2 has to confirm that they want to be a part of that roommate group. That way it becomes a verified roommate group. If it's a verified roommate group, we will pair them together for housing for this next year. Was that the question? Sorry, I can't see the chat.
That was perfect.
Great. Okay. That is a good question. Yes, because we also get that a lot too. Good question.
We actually have a couple more questions rolling in. Do you want to address them now or do you want to take a pause? Like, wait till later?
Yeah, I mean, if there's a couple about some of the pieces so far, I can answer those. Yeah.
Totally. So we have a question about, is there a big disadvantage to not choosing a roommate yourself? And how common is it for first years to just be assigned a roommate?
It depends on the year and how many students we have. So obviously, if we had a really, really small class for next year, like 120 people, there is a good likelihood that roommate pairs and singles would be given freely. Again, it really depends. I don't have a percentage per se that we have on hand, but I can guarantee that not every single student is going to get a single. That's just the reality. Which is again why we really encourage finding roommates that you're comfortable living with, who you share similarities with. That way, if we do have to pair you with someone, again, it's somebody that you're comfortable with. And if you have an approved accommodation through DAR for a single, we will give you a single.
Kind of related to that as well, we have a guest wondering, is there a price difference between singles and doubles? If you need a single for like medical reasons, do you still need to pay a higher price if it is higher? And in addition to that, are all the shared rooms divided doubles?
Good questions. There is not a price difference between our singles and our doubles. And in terms of them being fully divided, NATO and Sullivan are fully divided. Trillium is partially divided. So it's like 3/4 of a wall. You share the same entrance. If you open the door all the way, you can see both sides of the room in Trillium. Whereas in NATO, it's fully divided. There is a completely separate door with those doubles as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Great. Are there other questions, Caitlin? Sorry.
There are other ones. Is it okay if they're a little bit unrelated to the current topic?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. What is the process to get a mezuzah on the dorm door? And is there somewhere you should mention that in the roommate section of the portal?
Sorry, oh, what?
Oh, a mezuzah? It's like a Jewish I'm so sorry, I should be able to describe this better. I'm Jewish. It's a little item that you put on the inside of your doorway that you can like touch as you go in and out. It's like a little blessing.
Oh, okay. You say adding it on the door or inside of the door?
Yes, it like is on the door. Yes, it's on the door. Yes.
Yeah, you're able to hang things up on the door or inside the rooms. Obviously, if you're going to create holes in spaces, that's just something that you may receive a charge for at the end of the year. So just be mindful of that. We always encourage either tape or this blue tacky stuff that it's like sticky and you can put it on the wall and it holds up other things like papers, light weighted stuff. But yeah, recommending tape if you're going to create holes, just something that you may be charged for, just an FYI. And there was another part to that question, sorry.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, do you have to mention that at all anywhere within the roommate section of the portal?
We don't have that as something that you have to mention. You can if you want to, if you feel comfortable sharing that in the roommate profile or in the bio piece specifically, you can share that if you would like.
Another very quick question. Are all the bathrooms all gender?
Yeah, all of our bathrooms are gender inclusive. So the difference is going to be for NATO Sullivan, they are stalls, whereas in Trillium, they are individual user restrooms and showers. And so something to think about as you're considering or putting your preferences into the portal. Some differences there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We do have a few more questions, but I think maybe we'll save them for a moment and let you continue with the presentation.
Sweet. So once you select a roommate, their name will show up here, and then you just save and continue. Your great room preferences. This one has me listed as an incoming upperclassman, so it's going to look a little bit different, but the information in terms of what is here is going to look the same. Just the options that you can select will look different, like I said. So again, you can add your top 5 preferences. So you can say, cool, as an incoming upperclassman, I'm interested in anime. I'm going to put my preference. As incoming first years, you will see Trillium, NATO, Sullivan. Those will be the options that you can select. Again, if you are interested in being in the students of color community, that's going to be a separate process. It's not something that you can select as a preference because you do have to do the supplemental materials in order to be considered for that space. And then we do ask, we have to add a couple more. Let me add some preferences. Great, add a preference. Fantastic. So I've added those in. We do ask, what is your preference and priority? Do you prefer your roommate to be prioritized or the rooms that you've selected to be prioritized? And so making sure that you add that. Prefer my roommates. I haven't picked one, but I prefer whoever that is versus my room preferences. So I've added that. And then, oh, maybe one more. Sorry, I have to add 5. Okay, so once I've added that in, then I can go ahead and scroll down. Again, save and continue. Make that adjustment. Meal plans, making sure that you select your board plan for next year. We have this little breakdown here, Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C. Plan A, students who will mostly eat almost every meal on campus and often take advantage of late night dining hours. Highly recommend going to the late night dining hours. It's pretty cool. They have pizza. It's a little bit lively, really easy food that you can get in the evening, especially if you're just trying to fuel up as you're either studying or hanging out with friends, or just again trying to like find a space that has energy. If you're somebody who like I like to work where there's people around, a great spot to hang out. Typically from 7 to 10 is when that's happening. Plan B, students will occasionally miss meals. So if you're like, I don't really want to go to Commons all the time, I really want to see what options are around Portland or around the area. We have lots of food carts, we have lots of restaurants. We have Woodstock and Selwood, which are really close by, which offer a lot of dining options as well. And then Plan C, students who do not plan on eating all their meals on campus. So if you're like, I really don't want to eat on campus as much as possible, and I want the smallest meal plan possible, that's going to be Plan C for you. And so you'll be able to select that. And so we'll add that in. Boom. Great. If you pick the wrong board plan or you're like, actually, I changed my mind, I don't want that board plan, just send us an email at residencelife.edu right here. You can send it to us and we can update that for you. We can only make changes up until the second Friday of classes. So if you reach out in October, we won't be able to make adjustments. But if you reach out before the second Friday of classes, which is September 12th, I believe. Don't directly quote me because I'm not looking at a calendar right now, but it's around that time frame, the second Friday of classes, where you can request changes and we will update them for you. Save and continue. We ask about Grad Guard. This is renter's insurance. You do not have to select this. We do recommend having some sort of renter's insurance, checking with your parents, seeing if it's something that can be covered by their plans. If not, we encourage seeking out options that way in the case that something happens. You do have some coverage for your personal belongings. If you do go through Grad Guard, there is a discount for students through Reed. So something to consider as you're considering options for renter's insurance. Sweet. It's going to take you to Grad Guard. This is fantastic. Learn how it goes, quotes, edit coverage, monthly, annual, purchase coverage, decline coverage. So I'm going to decline it. Okay, they'll say why. Sounds good. I'm not doing it. I don't think I'll need it. They also ask again, like, are you sure you don't want insurance? Again, if you don't want to go through this one, you don't have to. You can find others. And if after maybe you decide you're like, actually, I do, you can always reach out to them outside of this and set up insurance as well. Great. Says I declined it because I did. It'll show you on your end if you say yes, no, of the sort. Great. Save and continue. Again, if you'd like to reconsider, this is the link that you'll want to be able to save. That way you can visit them easily and create your own insurance plan with them. Save and continue. Cool, great. I'm under 18 is what we'll say. That's fantastic, looking super young and all the things. But our contract specific dates are also included here. Fall semester, so the 25th is when you'll be able to move into on-campus housing. The sign up for move in will open on June 1st and close July 1st. So you'll be able to sign up for a specific time of when you'll be moving into on-campus housing. So on the 25th, you'll be able to see which time you should be showing up. It's good to take note of it, take a screenshot, take a picture. That way, as you're spending time over the summer doing whatever it is, work, hanging out, traveling, just hanging out at home, you have that information saved. For the fall semester, housing closes on the 19th. So again, for any parents who are on here or students who like to plan in advance, calls close on the 19th of December, which is a Friday. So something to note as you're planning, again, travel plans or what are you doing for the winter break and the holidays as well. So just something to think about as that. And then for returning students, they come a little bit later. All of our first years and incoming students will get to participate in orientation week. And so some very specific sessions, opportunities to engage in community and opportunities just to learn. Some of you may have gotten Camivos here or should be getting them here in the next couple of weeks. Which we'll be doing the week before returning students arrive. And then for spring semester, Again, thinking about when am I coming back, and when am I leaving for the end of the year. Our halls open on the 16th of January. So again, more information to remember in terms of dates. What is the earliest you can arrive on campus for the spring semester? And that is January 16th. And then for closing again for next year, when our students going home for summer break, the last day to stay in on-campus housing is the 19th. Again, our halls close at noon on the 19th. So just something to remember. Talking about room and fees. So for those of you who had questions about what is the tuition and fees for this next year, you can click on this link right here and it'll take you specifically to tuition and fees. Again, board plans, all of that is there. Some opportunity to read some more specifics. And then this is our housing contract. There is the option to download this and save it for later. We do recommend that, especially if you're not going to sit and read through it all right now. Really save it. That way there are no surprises. Any information about housing is also included on here as well. Any of our policies, quiet hours, guests, pets, service animals, ESAs, all of that sort is included. And so again, making sure that you're just reviewing that. Again, because those are the contract pieces that if you need to follow up, this is what we'll refer to. And then making sure that you sign it. I'm using a staff one, so I need to sign with their name. And then parent and guardian, I'm just going to put myself at this point. Obviously, I would say have your parents actually sign this, not you sign it. Please make sure that if you are under 18, that is happening. If you are over 18, it'll just be asking for your signature, which is you typing in your name. Oh, I said print the page. Oops. Save and continue. Submit your application. So great. It says you've done all the pieces that we've asked you to do. We're just going to ask you to click one last save and continue before we move on. And again, you can make adjustments to your roommates until June 1st. And so that's the kind of one of the deadlines to also keep in mind. And then please log back into the housing portal in late June to see your placement. If you have any questions in the meantime, reach out to us. And we're really excited to have you all join us in the fall for your first year Reed. And then make sure you submit the application. If you don't submit it, it will just show that you have not yet finished, even if this is the last page that you see. Okay, submit it. Sweet, done. And then it takes you back to the main page, which is our welcome page. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing that and jump back to the presentation. Caitlin, while I do that, do you want to see if there's any questions in the chat that I can answer?
Oh, absolutely. Many have come in.
Great.
One that I saw a little earlier about selecting a roommate on the portal. Is there a way to specify if maybe you are comfortable rooming with someone? Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me backtrack. Is there a way to specify if you are comfortable rooming with, for example, non-binary and female genders, but not male? Yeah, so I guess any combination of those two out of the three, is that possible to indicate?
Yeah, that you'd be able to indicate that by emailing us. So at the res.life@reed.edu, that is how you will contact us and let us know. That way we can make that note on our end. The question in the portal just asks if you are comfortable or if you're not. Yeah.
Awesome. Another question. Is there a way to specify that you would like a divided double? I know that there are some dorm rooms in Trillium specifically that are undivided. So is there a place to indicate that?
So in your preferences, I would prioritize NATO and Sullivan. Like I shared, those are fully divided. And so if you're like, I really want a full wall and a door in between me and my roommate, I would prioritize NATO and Sullivan. If you're just like, I want a double in general, but I don't want one that's undivided, again, reaching out to us so we can make that specific note on our end because it just shows up as a Trillium double or a NATO and Sullivan double.
Got it. Another question. Could you say approximately what the distance is from each of the residence halls to, the different classroom or academic buildings on campus? I think it's very close. It's like maybe a 10-minute walk in my opinion, but what would you all say?
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on what like how fast you walk and which route you take. So there are a couple options, and again, depending on which buildings you're going to and which building you live in is going to take that is going to make a difference. But But I think, like Caitlin said, about 10 minutes, I would, prep for that. Unless your classroom is in Trillium and you live in Trillium, we only have one classroom there. You'd wake up and be able to get down to class within 5 minutes. Obviously hoping that you're brushing your teeth, making sure popping in some gum, whatever it is your preference is, if you're rolling right out of bed. But other than that, I would say plan for about 10 minutes. If you're somebody who's like, I want to grab coffee beforehand or matcha or something from the cafe, then give yourself more time. I would say about 20 minutes. Everybody likes to grab coffee in the morning or some form of drink from Canyon Cafe or from Commons. And so just something to think about as well if you're like, I want to grab something to eat or drink before I head to class.
All right. Could I maybe ask you one or two more before we?
Yeah.
Cool. We also have a question about renter's insurance. Is that included on financial aid offers?
That is a great question for financial aid. I don't believe so.
I don't believe so either.
I don't believe so, but I would double check with them. I don't think it pops up in our cost of attendance list that they break down for us.
Cool. I think you're right about that as well. But yes, financial aid, they would be super enthused to answer that question. Finally, maybe last question, and then I'll let you keep on going. What are the major considerations when choosing a first year residence hall? I guess, like maybe advice or what to think about when deciding between the different options.
Yeah, I think again, like I shared, the bathrooms is a big piece, right? Are you open to, are you interested in more specifically in single user toilets and showers, or are you open to community style, which has both the toilets and the showers in the same space within individual stalls? Kind of like if you go to a pool and you're changing in their shower rooms, it looks like that. Individual stalls, individual showers, but open space for where you like brush your teeth, wash your hands, etc. of the sort. And then again, the doubles is the big piece, right? Do you want fully divided? Are you open to partially divided? Do you want an undivided? We have some students who are like, I don't mind sharing an undivided with somebody else. And so again, in that case, again, hoping that you find a roommate who is also open to that, again, for preferences. So those are just some of the bigger considerations to think about. And then both buildings have elevators. So as you're for folks who are getting ready to move in August, something to also keep in mind, both have elevators, so no worries there. And then common spaces on every single floor, HA in every single floor, and wing. So those are the similarities. But yeah, I think those three bigger pieces are the bathrooms and the toilets, and then the doubles, and then also kind of, what are you hoping for in terms of look? So if you look on our website, you can also see kind of some images of what the differences between the two look like. Okay.
Awesome. Maybe could I give you one more question?
Yeah.
Cool. One of our guests says they're still a little bit confused about the roommate selection. Should a student find a roommate group even if they select a single as their preference, just in the event that they don't get a single?
Yeah, I mean, I think if there is potential that you're open to living with someone, then I would recommend finding a roommate. Again, it is far likelier that we'll be able to place you with a roommate that you've selected than being able to offer a single. Again, I can't say what is the percentage of how many people will want singles because folks are still filling out their applications. And they have until June 1st to do that. And so that's when I would have a better likelihood of this is how many students asked for singles, this is how many singles, that are actually available. And so I don't have those numbers just yet, but if you are open to living with someone, then we recommend seeking out a roommate and creating a roommate group. Okay.
Awesome. Cool. I'll ask you more later.
Okay, great. Housing contract, getting back to the presentation piece here, read through it. Again, I'm going to emphasize this because it is very important. Make sure you read through it and that you sign your housing contract. If you don't have a signed contract on file, we won't be able to give you your housing keys until you do that. And so I would hate for you to get here on move-in and go, hey, you don't have a signed contract. We will send you emails before then. That way you also know to sign it. But in the case that you miss those emails or you mark them as read or they're sent to spam automatically, we will follow up and continue to follow up with you prior to move-in so that you aren't stuck without your housing key once you arrive. So just make sure you sign it. Again, it's very easy. Type in your name, and then you can download a copy of the housing contract if you'd like. But then on our end, it shows that you have signed it and you are set. Okay. Some housing procedures, keys, facilities request, animals. So when you first arrive to campus, we'll have this huge, great move-in for you with several different tables. Where you'll connect with some folks from student engagement. You'll connect and get your ID card. If you haven't put your picture in yet and you want a very specific picture, please do that in advance. Otherwise, day of moving, they'll ask you to head down to community safety to get your picture taken. And I don't know about you all, but when I move, I don't look my best. I throw my hair up in whatever kind of way I can keep it held and kind of get like pretty sweaty. Because it's typically hot in August and not all of our buildings have AC. So just a heads up there. Residents who are locked out of their room may request an unlock from community safety. So if you forget your keys, you give community safety a call. You'll get a cool little holder that looks like this when you get your ID card. And on the back side of it, it does have the community safety number as well. So that way, if you're like, I didn't save this number in my phone, but I need to get a hold of them, the little holder for the ID card does have their number on it. That way you can give them a call and they'll come and unlock your space for you as well. And then at the end of the year, you just have to return your key. If you don't return your key, it is a $250 charge. And so we'll send reminders like, don't forget to return your key, don't take it with you, like make sure it goes back to facilities. That way you can avoid that charge as well. Facilities request. So if there's something, up with your space as you're living through it, right? Maybe your window screen falls off because your friend knocked it out, or your light stops working, or your window is really sticky in terms of trying to like open it and it's getting caught, you're able to submit an online maintenance request. And so this link will also be included in information that you receive. That way you're able to submit those requests easily and quickly to maintenance, and then they'll come in and they'll check it out for you and get it fixed. I always recommend saving that link. You never know when you might need it, and it's helpful just to have it available versus trying to find it in all of the information that you get. Because as incoming students, you get a lot of information and a lot of emails. And so again, I recommend bookmarking that for later use as well. And then for animals, service animals are permitted to accompany persons with disabilities in all areas of Reed facilities. ESAs, emotional support animals, residents with appropriate documentation of a disability requiring the use of support animals must work with DAR regarding a disability-related accommodation request. So if you plan to bring an ESA to campus, you do need to work with DAR before the ESA is brought to campus. Otherwise, it would be an unapproved ESA. And then pets, small caged animals and fishes are permitted in the residence halls and houses. We don't allow dogs and cats unless they're ESAs. And so again, something to think about if you're trying to get an ESA. And small, in terms of small cage, something that can fit on a tiny dresser, typically like the bird cage, hamster cage, small like snake tank. Sorry, I'm not familiar with snakes, but I know they're come in a glass structure typically. So something small that can sit on a small desktop, right? Especially if you're sharing a space with somebody, you don't want to be taking up the full room, trying to have whatever animal it is that you're bringing with you. And then as a reminder, all animals must be removed during breaks. We have not had this issue since I've been at Reed, but don't want an animal to be left behind during the holidays, or during the summer, right? Again, not all of our buildings have AC, and so that would be very unfortunate for a pet to be left behind. And so we remind folks, please take them with you, please take them home, take them wherever you're traveling to. Don't leave them on campus if you are leaving for an extended period of time. Residency requirement, I mentioned this at the beginning. All first years and sophomores are required to live on campus and are guaranteed on-campus housing. How will I know if I should expect to live on campus? You're a first-year student or a transfer sophomore. Incoming upperclassmen aren't required to live on campus, but they can request it if they are interested, so it's an option. And then what happens if I don't fill out the application? Again, like I shared, because we do have the residency requirement and guarantee, if you don't fill out the application and you're a first year or a sophomore, we will assign you a space and then follow up to make sure that you sign your contract. That way we can give you a key to access the space. Programming, just a general overview. So in a first year community, some things to expect. Quarterly check-ins with your HA. So every quarter, your HA will check in with you, say, hey, how are things going? They'll offer the opportunity in the spring semester. It's optional. We do encourage it, right? In the case that you need resources or you just want somebody to check in with who's a neutral party, that is an opportunity that they offer. Programming, bi-weekly, monthly programs are offered for engagement. Some of the ones that we've seen this year, Boba Blast. People really like Boba. I am also a Boba fan. So it is a very popular thing on campus. Self-care events. We've had some staff who do like tarot reading with students, and they do self-care. So they'll do some coloring, some sand art, which is really cool. I don't know if anyone has done that, but really love that. Very soothing and honestly very beautiful. And movie nights. Those are really popular. Folks like to get together. Folks will study together while having a movie on in the background. Again, some people really like body doubling. So if you're like somebody who likes to work with other people in the same space while things are happening, those are also programs that are offered. And then departmentally, we do offer larger programs. We will offer late night bites when you all arrive. So the Tuesday after you move in, we will have an evening program where you can just come hang out. We'll have a bunch of desserts, light snacks that you can get, and a bunch of different games, indoor and outdoor. So if you like cards, if you like bracelet making, if you are someone who's really great at cornhole, we also have that. I am not the best. I just get lucky with cornhole. But then we also do like end of the year donuts. We had coffee at the end of this fall semester. And so they're the things that we offer as well for programming. Questions?
Yay! We have tons of questions. First of all,
Perfect.
everyone, put a little clapping emoji if you can react for Vanessa for doing that, and also for Glenn for answering questions in the chat as well. So yes, let's get some more questions asked. Oh my God, thank you everyone for listening to me when I said clap. Awesome. Wow.
I'm
Uh,
gonna, I'm
right.
gonna stop sharing. If anyone needs our contact information, it is located here. Email is great. That way, if we're trying to figure out any sort of application concerns or portal issues, really easy for us. And that's on there. Just make sure you have it. So I'm gonna stop sharing. That way, I can also see the questions that are coming in too. That's helpful for me.
Yes, yes. One of the questions that we have in the Q&A feature, I let me know if this is more of a like a financial aid or something question. Um, uh, One of our guests noticed maybe that like board prices between last year and this coming year are a little bit different. Could you describe what else is included in the board plan besides just that meal plan?
So in the board plan, the specifics that you're receiving is a general overall balance that can be utilized towards um, for like a specific student to get their meals. The pieces of typically why fees are increased is because it also covers the operations of our dining services. And so you'll see on the business office website, there's a breakdown of what is available to use based on the board plan and what it goes towards the specific operations. And so that's generally where the cost increase comes from.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. We had another question from a student asking about if they have severe insomnia. Should they put down hours when they actually are asleep, or should they be focusing more on the hours when they are quiet when it comes to that housing application?
Yeah, I would focus in more the hours of when quiet specifically. That way a roommate, if you have a roommate potentially, they're not surprised, right? Like if you say eight to 3, but you're like, I actually start winding down in the afternoon, or I wake up really early, that's something that they can also be very mindful of as well. And for us to consider as we're making matches.
Great, great. Thank you. Another question from the chat. How are severe food allergies addressed in the shared kitchens in the dorms?
Yeah, so obviously I would say first, if you do have a severe allergy, start the process with DAR. We do have housing accommodations for severe allergies, food and animal wise, again, so making sure that that is a priority for you. And then in terms of the residential spaces, our HAs are really great at helping facilitate expectations in those kitchens. And so generally during the uh, hall openings, if there is a specific allergen that needs to be avoided, the HA won't specifically say, oh, this student, but it will say in our kitchen, these are the things that we don't bring given some allergens. And so they do really great at making sure that there are cleaning supplies around, that things are specifically labeled, right? So if there is a toaster for gluten-free options, and there is one that's just for gluten options, then they have that labeled as well. And then again, making sure that you're cleaning up after yourself, right? Like that is a huge piece that we try to remind students of like, hey, after you use something, it's very important that you clean it and not leave it because you never know that somebody may have an allergen that you're not aware of that could potentially be dangerous for them to be exposed to. And so also again, reminding students as well, like please clean up after yourselves so that nobody else is potentially exposed to something that they shouldn't be.
Thank you so much. That was a great answer. I got another question about roommate groups. How big should those groups be? And do you need to have several members so there are options for who you're paired with?
So the maximum capacity that we have for roommate groups is two. And so if you do make a change, it's something that we can moderate on our end. We can adjust, right? So maybe you pick someone and through conversations in the summer, you're like, actually, I don't want to room with this person. Or you talk to another person, you're like, oh, I really like this person. I'd rather room with them. You can let us know and we can reform that roommate group for you.
Awesome, awesome. And then we have a really awesome bathroom question. How are the bathrooms in Trillium and NATO in terms of counter space and cubbies? Also, are there any private showers? Trillium is great for that.
Yes. Like Caitlin said, private showers, again, single user showers is in Trillium. So if that is a preference, prioritizing Trillium for your spaces, for your preferences in the portal is going to be important. If you need them as for an accommodation, again, please work with DAR, right? We understand that folks may need those for specific reasons, and DAR can help with that. And so if you do have an accommodation for a single user stall or shower, and DAR approves it as a housing accommodation, we will place you in a space that gives you access to that. And in terms of counter space, so the for Trillium, since it is individual showers and stalls or toilets, there isn't counter space within those spaces, but there is a external space where there is lots of cubbies and counter space for you to set stuff down. Obviously, if there's something of really big value to you, we obviously recommend keeping that in your room. Or if you're like, I don't want anything to be out here in the case that something, were to happen to it. Not that it happens often, but I know some people have that preference. I am someone who has that preference. I'm not going to leave my stuff out. Then you can, we also recommend putting it into your space, but there is a storage spots where you can set stuff out if you would like.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we actually are at the end of our session. It is 5 o'clock Pacific time. So for anyone who did not get their questions answered during this session, there were plenty of great ones. I believe you did see the email address for Residence Life. I'm sure Vanessa and Glenn would both be happy to answer any questions. So please feel free to reach out to them if you do have those questions that you'd like to get answered. I just wanted to say thank you everyone for coming today. If you have any other admission related questions, you can always reach out to your admission counselor or our general admission office at admission@reed.edu. And I just want to thank you all so much for being here today. We will be uploading this session to YouTube as well, so it will be accessible to all. So thank you all so much, and special thanks to Vanessa and Glenn for being here today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes. Have a great day, everyone.